Persephone was available in comp, and now I don't know where she stands anymore because she was fixed. Now she's broken. Fixed again. Just fun. I thought we were gonna get to see Persephone, and then a lot of leagues are banning her, and I don't know. I don't know if she's banned right now in Albion, but at least professionally, she is unbanned. So yeah, I just got confirmation she is unbanned. So we could see Persephone's return to competitive, and that would be very exciting. I think. I think her new kit it has a lot of exciting possibilities in it for sure.
Yeah, a ton of lockdown and a ton of damage as you'd want from your mid laner. But you know what? I think we should just see if we're going to get ourselves a Persephone pick. Let's jump straight into these picks and bans here for game number 1. And we have our Mercenaries division. That is our Masters division. And we have Emma Stone fan club here on the order side, the first pick, with eSports anti-healers on the right side, the chaos side there, second pick. Actually, let's retract here. Persephone is banned for this league, so unfortunately, no Persephone for us today. But that does not mean we won't see any other fun mid laners like the Raijin, the Tiamat, the Morgan Le Fay. I think that's been a big kind of it's been a big pick there in that SPL SCC level. I feel like.
I even heard rumors of a possible Thoth pickup in the SPL, so we might see some Thoth returning. I always like watching Thoth players too because they because they always play a little bit differently. But we are getting news from production.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sorry for that quick little break. Just some little technical difficulties, but we have that worked out here. And unlike what I said, eSports anti-healers here on that order side are going to be first pick, and they're going to take that Osiris away, right? I mean, warrior jungles are a thing, and they are the meta, and Osiris is just the epitome of that.
Yeah, I mean Osiris again for my opinion, I think Osiris pound per pound is probably one of the best junglers right now, especially in a meta where maybe some junglers aren't so pleased with the current state of jungle. I feel like you can still get a lot done on that pick, and I think it's still worth noting that he can flex over to that solo lane. He's useful there as well. So Osiris, it's a good ban, right? Because now you're kind of taking him out of two possible positions.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing a lot of people forget about Osiris is he is still a plenty viable solo laner. I mean, the character is simply hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get mitigation. So you can't ever go wrong putting him just about anywhere. So you gotta love that one. But Emma Stone fan club, they're gonna ban out this Raijin here. That apparently seems to be their focus in the mid lane, which is a little bit strange with how we mentioned about, Morgana Le Fay or Morgan Le Fay, Tiamat, picks like that have definitely been top tier. But Raijin, definitely no slouch though.
Yeah, I feel like Morgan Le Fay is a bit of I don't want to say risk, but a bit of a gamble, I guess. just in that, you can punish that character very, very hard. And so you might not want to prioritize that character. Obviously, when she's good, she's very, very good. But when she's bad, she's kind of bad, she's not bringing a whole lot. This Tiamat ban also kind of expected, right? And then we see Morgan also picked up. So 3 mid laners banned out currently. Raijin, interesting. Raijin, I think, is one of those safe but always kind of good picks, right, in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of those you're never gonna hate getting him, and I think a lot more mid laners are kind of valuing him a little bit higher in these recent times. Even with Tiamat and Morgan Le Fay being as strong as they are, you're never gonna hate a Raijin. I think Paul stated it best in his interview and said tanks hate Raijin, and that's
Mm.
all you need to do is when in a tank meta play something that tanks will hate. But with these bans coming out here, the first pick for esports anti-healer is going to be this Gilgamesh, which definitely more of a jungle pick, but it still does have that potential to go solo.
Yeah, I mean, even we've seen some Gilgamesh support as well. He's just very good, and it seems like it doesn't really matter where you put him as long as he's on your team. He's going to be doing big things for your team composition. So, not surprised to see Gilgamesh first picked. Horus and Thoth. What? Hold up. Let me.
What
Nope.
season are we playing in
Nope.
here?
This
What's
is
going
this is
on?
season 8 of Smite. I thought we had gone back in time, but apparently not. I'm excited to see the return of my boy Horus here.
Horus being, I mean, he is such a fun pick to
Mhm.
watch and just see what you can do with that. I mean, you have, oh, I've forgotten the team name, but Horus just, going from one side of the map to the complete opposite side of the map with the ultimate, moving your whole team across. It's just such a fun ultimate. And I think also to throw out there that Thoth, that buff to his wall at a lower level play, it may not seem as useful, but the higher level you go, the better that's going to make, sieging objectives, yeah, objectives, towers, anything. You're gonna need to get just that little bit of extra damage, and it'll help burn things down. But esports anti-healers now they're gonna pick up the Artemis and the Yamoja, so their duo lane locked in there. But talk to me about that Horus, because you definitely seem like you know Horus, and I feel like we need to get an idea of what the plan here is with this Horus.
Yeah, I played a whole ton of Horus up until about season 8 when I played ranked, and every ranked game playing Horus just made me cry and be very, very sad. But in competitive, a horse brings a lot to the table. Obviously, when you think of horse, you think of that drop ship, right? And you talked about that being able to sort of, move your team wherever you want, being able to set up some baits, being able to make some really big 500 IQ Galaxy Brain plays. But let's not forget about the amount of CC that Horus has. He's got that knockup, he's got the stun in his two. And then when he's in trouble, when you think you got him cornered, when you think he's got him out, he uses that third ability to dash right on out to safety, and he's got a little bit of heal on that too. So I think that Horus has a lot to offer, and you don't think of Horus being sort of the super highly aggro character, right? But he can do a lot of damage as well if you're not paying attention. Speaking of doing a lot of damage, Jormungandr also saw some buffs, and we'll see how he fits into the meta going forward.
I think important to note is that Horus he still is a warrior. So
Yeah,
and you
that's
know
it.
how strong warriors are right now. He could even kind of branch a little bit hybridish to it in extent to some extent pick up like that Blackthorn hammer, get that 400
Mhm.
HP really quick and early. But again, Yorm, I love this character. He's so much fun, and the fact we get to see him here makes me very happy. The fact his favorite item, Jade Emperor's crown, got buffed as well as just about it seems like every aspect of his kit getting buffed there. But Morgan gonna be the ban here for Emma Stone Fan Club, and Esports Anti-Healer's gonna answer back with a Fenrir. So focus in two very different locations as of right now.
Yeah, as you can see, Emma's own fan club opting to get rid of the rest of those mid lane options, taking out two very high priority picks, right? I mean, Morgan definitely still up there in the meta. And I think that recently we've kind of forgotten about how good Soul is. I don't think I've seen a lot of Soul in comp, but let's not forget Soul's pretty good still, especially if you can match her up with a Fafnir or something. But obviously the anti-healers have opted to pick up Yamoja, which definitely is going to be a support.
It
Definitely.
definitely leans a little more that way, but you never know. This is the Masters League. They could pull out some big brain
I've
strats.
heard of Yamoja mid memes.
It,
So,
release Emoji Mid was a
mm,
scary thing to behold.
yeah, yeah.
That was not something you'd want to play against.
Fortunately, her scaling not as good as it was, so probably not going to see any of that. Uller hover here. I kind of like the extra aggression to match up with this horse. Definitely a lot of all in potential in that duo lane.
Yeah, you make an excellent point about that. That is just a kill lane. The Yamoja not going to have pressure early. Artemis not going to have pressure early.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to give them a lot of potential to really get a lead in there and not let Artemis ever really participate. Because I think on top of that, the second or final ban there for esports anti-healers being the Rama, they really wanted to give this Artemis a decent matchup, and she has an okay matchup into this Uller, but if he doesn't have beads, there's a very strong chance he dies. But Zonkui hovered and locked in. What in the world is this? I thought mid-season was going to change everything up. No, it's apparently 8.7 has changed everything.
All the rules have changed. People still trying to lock in that Zhong However, I think we're starting to get a little bit smarter about it, right? You see him locked into solo Scylla or Skia, if you prefer, being locked in here. And I imagine that's going to be Ski in the mid, and Zonkwe is going to go over to the solo lane. Zonkwe looking pretty sharp though in that solo lane. Not sure how he's going to fare against this Jormungandr. He will have a little bit of outpoke potential, but not really because he's Zonkwe. That'll be an interesting matchup to see in that solo lane.
I don't think that's a matchup we have seen almost ever in competitive play, to be completely
Season
honest.
6?
Anytime Yorm is good, it feels like Zonkui is not relevant. But this is the one time where there's some overlap here. So I'm really interested to see how this lane really goes up. But Emma Stone Fan Club, they're going to finish off their draft here with this Call Lee, looking for a late game carry to go on top of their late game mid laner. So interesting pick there. And Dino, I mean, obviously, the Horus is definitely pushing you the way of Emma Stone Fan Club, but do you think everything else surrounding that Horus is going to be able to give them the win?
I mean, it's certainly interesting. I think that there's some good synergy between maybe mixing up a Kali ult with a Horus ultimate. I don't think that their team comp is particularly built around this horse, so they're just having horse to use them for other means. You're not looking to set up that Ymir bomb, right? But I think that it's definitely a very good composition, right? You have that Jormungandr that kind of comes online. He's still a guardian. He's got some late game potential there. It's weird to see them pick such a early game focused character like Uller, uh, and then matched up with a Kali because you really want to set that Uller ahead early game. And so there's a possibility that Gilgamesh could spend a little extra potential there in the duo's lane and maybe put that Uller behind, and then that pick is not going to feel so good going into things. I think when you look at a Scylla, a Yamoja, an Artemis, and a Gilgamesh and the other team, it's really hard not to be like that team's going to come away with it, though.
Well, I think it will come down to snowballing. So who is able to snowball harder? There's only one way to tell, and that's with Kaizo and Frog.
Well, we will indeed be the ones to bring you this action. I am, as Dr. Thanatos said, I am Kaizo, and join alongside me is Frog. And, Frog, things were going well for me. I just got a new match on Tinder, and then I poured water down the front of myself as I was going to unmute my microphone. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about these team compositions while I mop up some of this water?
I'll just assume you want me to talk as long as I possibly can, so go ahead and cut me off when you're ready. But I'll first talk about the Emma Stone fan club composition, because these are a lot of gods that we do not see very often. Kali had her time in the SPL back when Cheria was coaching the Tartarus Titans. We saw her played a few times by Scary D, but unfortunately he didn't end up having a ton of success, and I'm not a huge fan of the pick here. It seems like she is a god focusing towards late game, as well as a lot of the gods paired with her are gods that aren't necessarily focused towards early game. You could argue Horus has some of that single target CC, likes to find those picks in the mid lane once he gets those rotations online, but he's not known necessarily for being an early game god. Neither is Thoth, neither is Uller, neither is Jormungandr, but hold that thought, actually. Vibe trying to go in on XD here on the Thoth. Close to getting that first kill, but unable to find it. Just hits level 2, able to dash away, so they'll secure the left mid camps for themselves. And we can already talk about an interesting start for this Kali, not even choosing to go towards those mid camps in the mid lane, but Uller actually getting poked out here, forced to jump away.
Yeah, and he will get to safety, but will get a stun on the way out there. So you're absolutely right, Kali making a different rotation pattern than we're really used to seeing, and giving Gilgamesh that opportunity to go mid and get that kick onto XD. Forces out the beads, as I think you mentioned, but ultimately will not lead to a kill, though still seems to be lingering, or at least checking these timers. And going back to this conversation you were having about this this Kali in the jungle, you are absolutely right. It is very prone to exactly this, where it can kind of get bullied because it just doesn't have the damage. But as I say that, turning around the damage is auto speed here onto Vibe, and you saw the indicator for that kick does not come out in time, and auto speed will say, I have no issues in my early game.
Yeah, fantastic stun there. Great reaction time, stopping that drop kick from the Gilgamesh. But we can also talk about this solo lane. 2 picks that we do not see too often. Zhonghui, I think his only wins recorded in the SPL right now are from this solo lane from FineOK over there on this god. So he has had some success over there, certainly more than he has in the mid lane. But into this Jormungandr, not a matchup that we have seen thus far. We haven't seen any Jormungandr in the SPL, and I'm actually surprised to see him starting out this tier 2 Rangus match, but I'll hold that thought. They're going in on the Artemis.
Yeah, and everybody's all in, and all into this trap is Land gonna have to jump to safety as Belted Sniper tries to land a stun. Not quite on the mark, but now Uller Jaggy is jumping in, feeling the damage, feeling the momentum, excuse me, and lands that axe on the back of that stun from Land. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, XD001, one more death for him. Auto speed also cleans up Vibe on this right side. It is blood everywhere, and it is all blue team blood.
Yeah, the eSports anti-healers just, end up falling across the map, right? It's XD taking a kill on the Thoth early. It's Kali getting a good blue buff invade, recognizing that the Gilgamesh wasn't able to be there, or perhaps actually I think he was there, and he just ends up losing the fight for the second time to the Kali, still 1 level behind there. And that Mannequin Scepter, I think, from the Kali, giving her a lot of her early game pressure. But just fights won in all 3 lanes here. He cannot get much better of a start than that.
And talk to me about this build that Autospeed is going for, because when I'm thinking Kali, I'm thinking I want to get that Hasten Katana online, maybe do some chop chop, but looks like they're going for this bow build. Where do you see this one going?
I don't expect it to be the full bow build that we're used to. Not something where you're going for bows, you're building a Silver Branch Kali without an attack speed stim, and Horus might not even be tempted to build that Shogun's Kusari. So I don't think there's enough reason for that, but I'm not surprised to see a bow come out. I do expect it to be the Ichavolt, especially if she does want to get involved early like we've seen her. Gilgamesh is one of those characters that is not entirely auto attack focused, but does have that first ability, the auto attack stim, giving him a little bit more damage, and certainly did not hesitate to box out the Kali, or try to box out the Kali in the 2 scenarios where they've met so far. So the Ichavolt, I think, is going to be a good pickup for the Kali to give her a little bit more early game prowess and allow her to keep up with that Gilgamesh, which she already seems to be doing quite a good job of.
Well, speaking of auto, Speed uses that blink in the mid lane, but doesn't get a whole lot out of it, so we'll see a rotation over this blue buff. Blink also comes out from Vibe here on this buff, trying to go on this Kali who has no mana, but Jormungandr shows up just in time to save her, so Vibe will have to jump out of the tower after stripping that one away. They are pressuring all over this right-hand side, and you see the pings, the frustration of, this is the second blue buff in a row. We have to be here to defend these.
Looks like Horus and Thoth also tried to step up to take that red buff. They were a little bit later than the enemy got. XD holding the ult right here. Oh, I was hoping he was going to fire that off. I think he would have been able to get a kill there if he could have hit that. But unfortunately, not too much. But they know the timers. I mean, this just shows Emma Stone Fan Club really focusing on trying to put this aggression out despite the late game Kali in their jungle. I mean, look at how she's farming. She's still so low health, and she's staying on the map just trying to maintain this farm efficiency. This is, I mean, she's been, remember how she had no mana at the speed buff, or at the blue buff invade? She still has no mana. She stayed out this long, just capitalizing on these buff camps. She's not wasting any time trying to maintain her lead, and you can already see these graphs heavily in the favor of Emma Stone Fan Club. 2k XP, 2k gold. It is no mystery how their strategy is working so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say that this is an interesting team comp, but it's really venturing past that. It's just these are gods that you have not played against recently. Right. I can almost guarantee that if you've been playing the competitive circuit. And that might be part of the reason that the esports anti-healers are having such a difficult time with it. I mean, if you literally, when was the last time you laned against a Jormungandr if you're the 12th man? Probably not very recently. So I think that that also lends to the difficulty that they might be having in these early stages, just reacclimating to these picks.
I mean, here's what I can say. These picks are consistent with surprise factors, right? Not only are they surprised by playing against a pick, period. I'll actually hold that thought as we're going to get a fight around the blue buff here. 12th man's being engaged on.
Yeah, and everybody's coming from the blue squad. Do they get here in time? Rundus goes up into the snake form, and now Horus actually lands in the middle. Thothol will come through the center of this team fight, but it is Teach that gets the bigger damage with that Scylla ult. However, Vibe will be the one falling. Now diving this tower, Rundus gets one stun canceled. The second one will hit, and now Emma Stone Fan Club back up, and they haven't gotten the blue buff yet, but with those two picks, I have to assume they'll have no issues doing so.
Esports anti-healers finally coming over to the blue buff, responding to those earlier pings, trying to defend, but not having much success, losing 2 of their members and losing the blue buff. I think they need to be choosing a different strategy if they're going to fight around this. Perhaps not fighting around this, choosing to go towards the Gold Fury if they're going to get a rotation on the blue buff and take that fight instead. We're hovering the Stone of Fall here for the Zhonghui, and I actually have been waiting for a chance to talk about this item because I think we should be seeing it significantly more often. We saw it in the SPL this weekend from a Yemoja support pickup, and I really think this goes towards exactly what I want to talk about, is how good that passive can be if it's easy to proc. If you're getting Stone of Fall on someone like a Cerberus or pretty much any Guardian not known for auto-attacking, a Fafnir, a Sobek, right? A lot of those top-tier Guardians not known for hitting auto-attacks mid-fight because they're melee. They have to be so close, so up in the battle, which they're not always there. But these supports and mages with ranged auto attacks, like this Zhonghui, like this Yemoja, are able to proc that passive much more easily as Tej takes down a kill at the purple buff, Buttery God escapes. A lot of stuff happening as I'm analyzing, and Tej might still be in more trouble.
Yeah, the entirety of Emma Stone Fan Club collapsing, but instead goes on to Belted Sniper here, who does get the hoop away, so should find safety. And a weird Kali ult for my money from Autospeed, just like assuming it had, I don't know, cripple root immunity on it or something. But the big talking point of that engagement is Tej stepping up and finding Jaggy on that purple buff, getting something on the board for the esports anti-healers.
That's exactly what I was looking for. They tried to fight at the blue buff. It didn't go well. It hasn't gone well the last 3 times you've tried to defend it, even if it was just with the Gilgamesh the first 2 times. But trying to get your own aggression, actually doing something on the map, taking advantage of possibly your one positive lane matchup in this dual lane. Ullr, not a great pick into the Artemis for my money. No CC immunity. All Ullr wants to do is be aggressive and jump in, and Artemis is going to punish him for that incredibly hard every time he tries to box out. So I'm looking for them to have more aggression towards this dual lane as they finally pick up a blue buff.
Yeah, finally is well said there, as 12th man will grab that one and kind of waddle his way back out of the jungle. The entirety of Emma Stone Fan Club, though, still lurking in this side of the jungle. They didn't get the fight that they wanted on the buff, so now looking for it on the back end will instead try to pull this Scorpion, and Belted Sniper knows it's happening. Does he get the steal? It looks like it does go away in favor of esports anti-healers, so a good grab over the wall from him there, and now Emma Stone Fan Club decide, well, we didn't get blue, we didn't get Scorpion, let's do Pyro instead. And that one will get secured. I thought that he might have taken that one as well on the Yemoja, but that one does go the way of the Chaos team. And we're kind of at a point where these objectives are going to be falling off the map pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about these passive objectives, right? Oh, I really thought that would be a solo kill. Just barely misses out the damage, but Jaggy will get punished for it. Vibe coming over just at the right time to take down the second kill for eSports anti-healers. But as I was saying, I'm not too concerned about these neutral objectives. They do go 1 for 3 there. Emma Stone Fan Club only get the Pyromancer on what their plan was, but that is the most important, right? But the big one is going to be this Gold Fury. And it's not going to be about the Gold Fury. It never was about the Gold Fury. It's going to be about who wins the fight. We've seen both teams able to prove that they have damage, prove that they can indeed get kills. I was worried it was going to be a blowout once we had that 6-0 start, but we've seen some actions of aggression, both of eSports anti-healers' kills coming out of aggression into the duel lane, being up on Emma Stone Fan Club's side of the map, taking out Jaggy, who's now falled for both deaths of that team. So I think this next Gold Fury fight, this next neutral objective fight, needs to be prepared for, but it's on the duo side of the map. That is the strong side for eSports anti-healers, but it's not going to go their way if they're not here for it.
Yeah, they now know what's going on. Definitely called out by Buttery God here. Already below half HP, though. Thotholt is charged. Objective is leashed. Thotholt comes out. I can't see if that one hit. It looks like Teach got belted by it, though, because he's below half HP. Has to use that spill, just feeling like he's in too much danger. Emma Stone still on the objective. There's the River's Rebuke. So do they get the reset off? Emma Stone Fan Club will secure that one, but Belted Sniper gets 1 kill off onto land. Meanwhile, Rundus in the front trying to frontline. Auto Speed goes in with that Destruction Ultimate. No damage onto Buttery God to finish him off, and it's just Vibe surrounded by everyone at low HP. XD has 0 HP, however, so it is a 0 for 2, but Emma Stone Fan Club get the Gold Fury. Where do you stand on this one?
It's pretty neutral for me. I talked about how it wasn't about that Gold Fury, and I maintain that. I mean, you can see how just going 2 for 0 after the Gold Fury has almost eliminated the Gold Fury's effect. I mean, the Gold Lead didn't move. It literally, it went down there, it plateaued a little bit, and then it went right back up. So it didn't move, but it might move if Vibe falls here in their jungle for absolutely no reason. He's up there with no camps on the map, looking for Jaggy maybe as he falls to a low HP, but he got away. Way too out of position for the Gilgamesh right there. Not good for his team's chances.
I don't have any answers for that one, and I'll take a look at the builds while we get a second to pause here. We had Jaggy under the microscope as the 2 early deaths for the Emma Stone Fan Club, and now I'll also take a peek at this build. How do you feel about Hydra's Lament, second item on Uller? There is not an attack speed item in that entire build so far.
Look, if I'm gonna comment on the comp, right? Remember when we commented earlier in the game, we commented about how surprising this comp might be in general. The Thoth, not something we see. The Thoth, not something we see typically. Neither is the Kali. We've yet to see the Jormungandr. All of these picks are surprising. So if they're looking to take the eSports anti-healers by surprise, then the Hydra's Uller might just be the way to do it. I mean, if you're looking to one-shot someone, this certainly is the build, and you do have the attack speed coming out from the Kali, so your Phoenix defense, or your tower push, I mean, is not necessarily super harmed by this because you have that other auto attack character. But Vibe, pushing up a little bit too far just out of the tower, has no ranged abilities on that Gilgamesh, so I'm not sure what his thinking was there to push out there, just get CC chained to death, and they're going to lose the tier 1 tower for it as well.
Yeah, he had a hell of a good peel onto his support there, managed to keep Belted Sniper alive, but just like you said, went a little bit too deep after the fact, and now Emma Stone Fan Club trying to get a retreat path off here as Jormungandr might get caught out, should be okay. Meanwhile, Buttery God chased down, hunted down Jaggy, trying to hit those big ol' ability damages with this full ability build. Actually jumps into the tower in left lane, trying to get something going on. 1 HP on both of these gods. Jaggy with no sustain in the kit. Buttery God, no health and no mana. We'll get out of that one. Jaggy will have to head for the hills as well, as the rest of the eSports anti-healers are on the way, or at least this Yemoja is. Seems like we're kind of just fighting because we don't have anything better to do at this point.
That's what it seems like in the duel lane. That's the second time both Jaggy and Buttery God have ended up very low HP. Last time, we had Vibe over here to take advantage, take down Jaggy for his second death, but not this time, and he does back up smartly instead of invading that purple buff. So nobody's going to end up falling. Artemis will still pick up her purple buff. They'll get the oracles, and Gilgamesh actually finding some good timing to grab this enhanced red buff away from Thoth, just returning from base. So they are doing a really great job of identifying opportunities where they can push up. Vibe has spent more time on the duo side of this jungle ever since they got that first kill over there early on in the game, and they're gonna be at this purple buff yet again, but they're gonna trade it for the Pyromancer. Once again, not a huge deal, just another neutral objective in Emma Stone Fan Club's direction, but the fact that they have gotten all 3 neutral objectives so far, and they haven't really increased their lead a lot at all, is not a good sign. I mean, I'm still not sure how these 5v5 fights are gonna go.
Yeah, eSports anti-healers haven't been coming back by any stretch of the imagination, but they also haven't been getting any further behind either. 12th man here now surrounded and forced to use the thorns earlier, as we saw, but under his TT tower should be perfectly fine. We're basically just waiting for this Primal Fury to respawn at this point and give these teams something to direct their aggression toward as everybody tries to round out their most relevant power spike before they can get to that next fight. As Jaggy, I'm just so interested in this Uller build, has this dominance online. There's a whole lot of power to be given that Uller.
Interesting going for the dominance, though. That gets that 10% extra penetration on those autos, and the auto's not necessarily what you're looking for to one-shot a character if you're going Uller with that build. You're really just going to get 3 of them, maybe 2 of them off in the combo, but hold that thought. Land diving 12th man under this tower. Yemoja ult goes up. Siege! Taken out by XD's Thoth ultimate at long range, and this fight might be turning around.
Yeah, Autospeed has the long flank. You're gonna have to find an angle into this one. Land already down. Buttery God gets that one. So fighting back into this are the eSports anti-healers. Emma Stone Fan Club wounded, but not quite out. They know that Kali's in this jungle, so trying to chase her out and also keep themselves safe. XD, he erased Tej earlier and now is in threat of having the same thing happen to him. Autospeed still has not gone in on this fight yet, so still has that Kali ult available. eSports anti-healers know he's there. Good stun on Vibe, and there's going to be the ult. That's that knockback immunity he needs. That's 1, that's 2 for this Kali in the beginning of this fight. Jaggy stepping forward, putting out some damage. Rundus will follow suit onto Buttery God. XD cleans up over the wall, and now all eyes turn to this Zhonghui blink forward from Rundus. We'll get a slow off. There's the tremble as well onto this Zhonghui. Still jumped over by Jaggy. Aegis will also save his life from that crush. And now XD needs even more action, dashing in on this Scylla, but nothing left to get. Emma Stone Fan Club broken up in the beginning of that fight, but quickly come back together and collapse on the eSports anti-healers.
Talk about a misplay from eSports anti-healers. I mean, just what a mistake to go for that Gold Fury in the spot that they had. They turned around the fight so well. So unfortunate that Tej gets taken out in that way, but they had an advantageous 4v4. They still had their Uller near full HP. Autospeed was caught out behind them at half HP, so he was in a rough spot. They had them trapped between themselves and their own base. Like, they had essentially switched sides of the map, but they had the health bars, they had the cooldowns to do it. And then they go and use all those advantageous cooldowns on starting the Gold Fury, and Autospeed's able to come in here and just get a free 2 kills on those members who were healthy, but then took that extra damage from starting up the Gold Fury. Just a complete misfocus from eSports anti-killers. They took that advantage from they had in that fight and they just threw it away, and now it looks like Emma Stone Fan Club going to start up this Gold Fury.
Yeah, Zhonghui not here for this one, so they've got an uphill battle ahead of them if they try to take it now. Belted Sniper stepping forward, gets that good River's Rebuke off, and now that is the drop from Emma Stone Fan Club. Gonna focus all in on this Yemoja, Thoth off the mark, and meanwhile, in the backline, Buttery God chased around by the Snake. Rundus will take down that Yemoja. Jaggy also gets one. Rundus with another one trades out onto Buttery God. Meanwhile, Autospeed chasing out this Scylla, forces the dash using that ultimate, but won't be able to find the kill just yet. Now 12th man came in late. Does he have the damage to make it happen by himself? Still not quite on the mark. That would have been a big one. XD gets one and then gets traded back out, and instead it is going to be a deicide for the Emma Stone Fan Club as they turn back to this Primal Fury.
Well, now I think we have a sense of who wins that 5v5 now, at least the first one that we've seen happen. Okay, I just want to make sure Land didn't die to the Gold Fury there. That was a little bit too close for my liking, but I mean, that fight was just so well executed by Emma Stone Fan Club, and I specifically have to credit Rundas for that dive on the Jormungandr. I mean, he wasted both carries' time. He ended up taking out Buttery God on that Artemis, and Tej was put in a rough spot, forced to use his cooldowns to take that kill, and that caused Tej to be forced out as well, put Auto Speed in a good spot to take him out even later in the fight after he pushed back up to get a trade on that Thoth. So it does go a little bit back and forth. Emma Stone Fan Club do get some members taken out by eSports Anti-Healer, so it wasn't a complete, huge win for them. They didn't win that 5-0. It was still at least a little bit close, but I'm really looking at 12th man on this Zhong Kui to do a better job of getting into that backline. I mean, look at how late in the fight he popped that release Demon's ultimate. I mean, he was not able to have an impact at all until all three members collapsed on him that were still alive. And if he's able to do that and actually make space to allow his carries to, 1v2 Rundas maybe, and maybe both solo laners trade for each other, it's gotta be a win for esports anti-healers.
Yeah, and he's got the active choices to make that happen. This is not a blink surprise on Quail. This is, I'm going to use Thorns and Aegis and try to absorb as many cooldowns as possible during the team fight. And speaking of which, we might have one brewing here at this Pyromancer Fire Giant area. Land dashes forward onto Belted Sniper. Big damage onto her. CC chain is good. Is the Thoth going to connect? 1 HP on this Umoja, no HP on this Artemis. Auto speed directly on top of 12th God. Meanwhile, Tej getting dove by all of the tanks in the right lane. Rundus takes out Belted Sniper, still not off the mark. Zhong Kui chased down and surrounded by Emma Stone Fan Club. Auto speed will get that kill. Vibe fighting in the winds of Shamash, but outnumbered heavily. Rundus just doing everything for the Emma Stone Fan Club here under this Phoenix. Gets one more kill. They don't even have the T2, but they have no qualms fighting even in the Phoenix.
It's really about how that fight starts. Emma Stone Fan Club, they're all together, they're all grouped, they know they have the advantage, they know they have the pressure to step up and start these fights, and that's exactly what they do. They find an opening, they're able to jump in immediately, they know they have the damage onto the Umoja, but look at auto speed on this Kali. Umoja was getting CC'd, she was being targeted by the Ullr, she was being targeted by Land on the Horus. They were both going to town on the Umoja, and XD on this Kali just skips the Umoja. He just walks right by him, and he immediately goes on the Artemis, gets his Aegis, takes the Magi's takes the Artemis ult with his Magi, is able to lock down that kill. Like, he knows what his job is. He knows what his task is, what his role is on this team. Him and Rundas consistently getting into this backline, finding the avenues to get there, and not letting their distractions, not letting other things happening in the team fight take them away from that critical role. Not to mention, I haven't seen Tej hit a Scylla ult in 23 minutes. I haven't seen it. And so I think that these fights might have a better shot if Tej was able to get that damage off. I don't know if you knew this, Kaizo, but one I'm a Monster can change a team fight.
Can it? That almost sounds like a targeted blow at me if I didn't know any better. Third from the bottom is Tej on this Scylla. Can't help but feel like I have some shared sentiment on that one, but it's gonna have to come from somebody on the esports anti-healers, and so far, I mean, I feel like Buttery God, if you're getting dove this hard, there's only so much you can do. It really does need to be Tej on the Scylla, and then more space created by 12th man on the Zhong Kui for these fights to go better for them. I would almost have to think that you don't have anything else you could be doing.
Yeah, and I do think you're absolutely right that they have the builds for it, that they're absolutely set up, they have the team comp for it. Rivers Rebuke has a chance to get even more value here on these Phoenix defenses than it's been getting in the last couple of these fights. The Artemis ult finally has some chances to get a ton more value than it's been getting, right? The Artemis ult has only ever been able to grab the Jormungandr and to grab the Kali with the Magi's, because that's who has been on the Artemis, that's who's been diving, but now they're all forced into the same area on these Phoenix defenses. There might be a chance for that ult, the Umoja ult, the Scylla ult, all of these ults getting a little bit more value can definitely turn a team fight in the right direction. This could still go either way. They have a pretty good defense, but our production hovering over that Ullr build, as we've talked about so many times, the Boomba's Hammer, after the change, I believe, going back up to 20% CDR instead of that 10%. So Ullr choosing to just dive full on into this ability-based build. He's got the combo and he knows exactly what he wants to do with it. It's Axe, auto, 3, auto, 2, auto, right? I mean, it's literally just, he's going to absolutely delete someone when he gets that opportunity. But hold that thought, Kali in a rough spot, choosing to engage back in.
Yeah, going in 1v3 here, does have the ult available. There's the beads forced out and no jump just yet. So, I mean, at what point do you think that Autospeed realized that he might have been dead there 1v4? No ult comes out from the Kali, but you lose what? Fire Giant on your Kali? That sounds kind of important.
Yeah, it is a little bit important, but I think something I wasn't considering earlier was just how much damage this Uller is going to do per auto, right, on these Phoenixes. As opposed to not having the attack speed, he's not looking to get a ton of autos all at once, but he's got just so much pure power in this build. And that reset, you know, he's going to have those abilities up more often. He can throw those through the Phoenix, be poking during the entire time. So I really don't think this has crippled their siege at all. If they do choose to siege once Kali's back up, I think they're still absolutely able to, but they might choose not to regardless. Looks like this Fire Giant's about to fall off soon, about 30 seconds here. So we will wait for that to happen, as they did get all the towers. They did get the Gold Fury. Unfortunately, just a Primal Fury this time. No Oni Fury to perhaps push while they're trying to get the Fire Giant. And these graphs do show quite a bit. The XP difference, they had a shot there earlier. Those pick-ups on the XP chart now seem minuscule, but at around 20 minutes you saw eSports anti-healers fight back into this game, but ever since then it's just been a slow crawl downhill. Same with the gold difference. They're absolutely in a rough spot, but I mean, you can never count out a team contesting an objective like the Fire Giant that has a Scylla. You just can't. You know, it's not on the cards, and so they still have a shot at this no matter how far behind they get.
Very well said. These objective fights going to be very important, and if it's taken soon, it could also be important that both of those relics were traded in that left side of the map. As you see, Kali still waiting a little bit longer on those beads, as is Buttery got on the Artemis, so could be a factor if this gets started up sooner rather than later. Emma Stone Fan Club posturing in the enemy jungle and daring anyone to venture forward, and it's going to be this Yamoja that steps up first. They might look for something on the choke point here. Jormungandr is on the side. They do like trying to blow up this Yamoja, and they go all in on her here. There's a knock up into the stun. Half HP on both supports as Horus caught in the trap. Frenzy comes out, still ult off the mark once more. Rundus will take down Yamoja for the first kill of this fight. Kali jumps out on the left-hand side, and it is all this Jormungandr diving down on top of the backline. So much damage pours out onto Tej, and now Vibe gets knocked up. Vibe gets put down. XD dashes forward onto the 12th man, and these big ol' auto attacks, these big ol' abilities from this Thoth will clean up the last member of the eSports anti-healers, and this could be game we are looking at. And with nobody left to defend, it is going to be Emma Stone Fan Club walking into the Titan room and just taking care of business here, taking it back and forth a little bit, giving me a little bit of cause for concern, but plenty of cooldowns, plenty of damage available as the Emma Stone Fan Club. If you've ever been in ranked, if you've ever been playing support and felt like, why are they using all the buttons on me? Well, that's why. If you take out Belted Sniper at the beginning of that fight, it quickly spirals downhill from there.
I mean, the long and short of that fight and that fight style is they're allowed to do the same things every single fight that are winning them those fights, right? Belted Sniper pushes up a little bit too far. They use a lot of cooldowns on him, and they prevent the Yamoja from using any of that peeling ability. You know, you're getting Yamoja's cooldowns aggressively. That stun, that Riptide, and that River's Rebuke goes up before it even gets a chance to be used as a peel ability. You never saw that heal coming out. Extremely low healing numbers on the Yamoja as well. Less than 2,000 healing. I mean, you almost get more coming out of the Horus, right? You're not getting any of that peel ability on the Yamoja. And not to mention, notice how XD and Jaggy both are the ones to survive at the end of that fight. XD at full HP, only 2 deaths in that entire game, it's because they were never able to get onto the back, and they never attempted to. Vi was consistently fighting with his carries, trying to take down the support on the enemy team. He did a lot of damage to land in that fight, in that last fight. And it's 12th man popping those ultimates both late into the fight and not in range of the carries, not getting a lot of value out of that Thorns at all, ending up going 0-5 in that game. It's just, if they aren't able to draft a more cohesive game plan, a more cohesive unit, you know, if they want to be a counter-engaged composition, that's totally fine. Give me a Guardian solo, give me a Ganesh, give me people that are dedicated to playing grouping as 5 team fights. But if you're going to get the Zhang Kui, if you're going to get the Gilgamesh targets that are, or characters that are absolutely thriving when they dive into the backline, that's almost what their kits are meant to do. If you're going to pick those characters, you have to use them to their strengths. And esports anti-healers just unable to do that in this game.
Yeah, damage taken will tell the story here. XD001, 12,000 taken on this, so that is basically untouched this whole game. We're going to throw it to the desk to break down the rest of this one and then see if they can make some adjustments going into game number 2.
Thank you, Kaizo and Frog. And I think they pointed it out on the desk, and I think it's something that I really need to talk about. It's just the lack of peel across the board on the side of esports anti-healers. I mean, their only real attempt at peel was Yamoja. And in every single fight, the first target every single time was that Yamoja.
Yeah, I mean, excellent target identification there from the old fan club boys, because Yamoja was really their only hope, right? I mean, what are you going to have Zhang sit on the back line and peel? That's just I don't think that's ever going to happen very well. And so you take out that Yamoja, and then you can do what your team is basically built to do. I mean, you've got a Kali, you've got an Uller. I mean, those are gods that are looking just to get in there, and that's what they're able to do. And then you have a Toth who basically has a sniper rifle, right? You know, it just, we saw the triple kill at the end there that just led to the ultimate win. And so XC playing that Toth very well. I think that you look at these team comps, and Emma Stone fan club, I mean, their team comp was magnificent.
Yeah, they got to give props here to Rundus on that Yorm. Definitely making that pick look maybe a lot scarier than it potentially could. I mean, he had pretty much a free lane against that Zonkui, and he took all of that advantage that he could. I mean, late game, you saw him in every one of those fights. He was in the back line. He was causing all the issues, just spacing out those team fights entirely, and just making it pretty much impossible for anybody on the side of esports anti-healer to get to those backliners.
Yeah, I think you put that pretty aptly, and so I think that will round out, our end here for game number 1, and we'll cut to a quick break, and we'll be back with y'all with game 2.
Welcome back, everybody, to Emma Stone Fan Club versus eSports Anti-Healers in the Albion Giants League. In our Mercenaries division, the Masters division, the best of the best, excluding SPL. We don't acknowledge that here. But game one, it came down a lot to the team comp from eSports Anti-Healers really just not meshing together that well. It feels like.
Yeah, it seemed like unlike their counterparts, they didn't really have a cohesive strategy. It seemed like their strategy was just to pick the best picks available to them and sort of hope to outmeta them and sometimes that works, but in competitive it's a whole lot harder to get away with something like that. Whereas, Emma Stone Fan Club clearly had a plan in mind and they executed it perfectly. So I'm interested to see how they're going to sort of bounce back, where they're going to change in the picks and bans, maybe to see a different result.
I think something important to note is that comfort is key. We say that so much about some of these lower divisions, but that still applies up in these higher ranks because it felt like, and the reason I bring this up is it feels like vibe on that Gilgamesh just. It to me, it didn't feel like he was that comfortable on that pick. Kind of one of those, well, it's really good and it's open, just play it and it'll work. It's a good pick. And I can tell you from experience, that doesn't exactly work out all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just not like a comfort thing necessarily. I think that you can certainly be very, very comfortable on a god, but playing certain gods in competitive versus ranked also just plays out differently. Ranked is a different beast from competitive sometimes, and what you necessarily would want out of a Gilgamesh in competitive is not exactly what you might want out of them in a ranked game too. So that might have something to do with it. Maybe they don't have quite the script numbers on it. Maybe they just start to hit that panic button. You get behind and all of a sudden your game plan that you had set up, it's not going to work, and so you have to call an audible, so to speak, and you can't really find an answer, and it just starts to crumble a bit. That happens. You even see that at the SPL level, right? So I don't know what the issue is, but they have to identify it here during this picks and bans phase and rectify that situation. They're hoping to
Definitely, yeah,
win.
definitely didn't help that he started 0-2 in his lane or in his opposition there in auto speed there. Started, I believe, at least 1-0, 2-0. I believe he also only took one death that game, maybe. That was it absolutely popped off. So even if he was comfortable on that pick, you're not feeling comfortable when that collie is just doing the things that she does here. But catching up on these bands here, Emma Stone Fan Club, running back basically the exact same bands this time around with this Raijin and Osiris band. Maybe a little swap here from teams, but those bands stay the same. And Tiamat and Gilgamesh will be the bands for esports anti-healers. And do you like this Gilgamesh band, considering just kind of the way game one played out?
Yeah, I think that that's something I would certainly consider changing coming into game two. And if you're not going to pick Gilgamesh, I wouldn't really want to be giving that Gilgamesh to the opposing side. So the band is very understandable. Plus, we kind of spoke game one a little bit how Gilgamesh probably one of the better picks along with Cyrus in the jungle right now. So I definitely can understand why they would want to ban that. Does leave. I was going to say it leaves good old MLF right there available for you, and Emma Stone Fan Club going to go ahead and snatch her up.
Now, here's an important question: Does Morgan Le Fay look close enough to Emma Stone that we can say this is their signature pick? That they're going to pick this every time it's open, solely because they're the fan club? Can we get away with that?
No, I don't think. I mean, we can. We can do whatever we want. Nobody's going to stop it. We think production's going to shut it down now. Production's not going to shut it down. Sure, let's say that. Let's say that it's their signature pick because Morgan Le Fay definitely, absolutely looks like Emma Stone.
Well, with that Morgan Le Fay / Emma Stone pick,
Yeah.
esports anti-healers here are going to respond back with Cthulhu, recently getting an absolutely amazing tier 5 if you're looking to buy that one. But they're also going to pick up their own version of a Morrigan, the Morrigan here, which means double Cthulhu ultimate, which already is looking kind of scary, and it definitely seems a little more of a game plan is set in stone here for esports anti-healers.
Why does this always happen? Why? I feel like players hate casters. I feel like that's what it is. Morgan gets picked up, then you pick the Morgan. Kukulane gets picked up, so you pick Kukulkan. And then it's I feel sorry for the casting boys. Probably going to be some mix-ups there, but I mean Morgan. We talked about again back in game one. Morgan, really really good pick. Any dangerous pick in a team fight now becomes your pick. You're not going to have that if you want it. And alongside that, Morgan just in her kit alone is very, very strong. So I'm not surprised to see them go for that. Cthulhu, kind of keeping that almost Jormy vibe, right? The big team fight. So maybe they're looking to match up something like that in the solo lane for themselves instead of that Zhong Kui.
Now, this Artio pickup, that's a fun pickup. Getting some buffs here in this most recent patch, most notably being her 3 in the bear stance going faster so you can cover some more distance. I believe that is how the math on that one works out. So there is potential for this to go into the solo lane and be kind of a big bruiser tank kind of thing. And going against the Cthulhu, it's going to be a pretty even lane for the most part. So you're not going to be having any disadvantage as if you were to go against a warrior. And this Rama pickup is just a safe hunter that you're never going to hate on, even though Artemis is still available, which is a little surprising she doesn't get picked considering how highly rated she is among most of these hunters right now.
Yeah, she certainly is, but again, she does have her drawbacks, right? I think we're we're seeing her in this new light recently because this bow build just works so well with her kit. But you do remember that she was not seen for a very, very long time for a reason, and that's because she's not exactly the safest. Rom is fairly safe. His dash is pretty good for getting out of a situation, and if you have to stall, you can certainly stall with that ultimate. And Rama's ultimate also allows you some availability to, steal objectives and maybe start off with like a little poke. So I'm not surprised to see Rom. He has also got a stim in, so he works really, really well with that bow build that we see that's so popular. Heimdall making a return. I'm not exactly like he's been out of the meta, but maybe a little bit less in the fourth front, right? When you're thinking of picks and bans. Still very strong pick though, I think.
Yeah, highest. I think I'd put him in the highest priority of the safest hunters right now. I think I'd go Heimdall,
Mhm.
then I'd go Hachiman, then Jingwei. So no surprise to see a safe hunter coming out. I don't think that Buttery God had a bad time on that Artemis per se in lane, but he definitely wasn't having a great time. So giving himself something a little bit safer, something that can easily get away if he gets dove on or just focused out hard by this Rama in lane. So a good pick there if you ask me. But eSports Anti-Healer is going to ban away that Kali and a Nemesis away from auto speed. Makes sense to me. Get him off of those auto attack gods.
Yeah, clearly doing pretty well with that type of god, that type of jungler, and maybe have to force auto speed a little bit deeper to his god pool, and we'll see what he can come up with to answer that. Still, maybe some attack speed options. Obviously, once you get Osiris out and you got Kali and Nemesis, you've taken pretty much the bigger auto attack options in the jungle right now, but there are still a few floating around.
There's definitely still a few options. I think someone that is a little slept on here is Erlang Shen, and he could
Hmm.
be an option here, especially with stone cutting being as good as it is. You can kind of rush into that Kins earlier. You're never going to hate to see that. But Emma Stone fan club, their last two bans are going to be the Fenrir and the Ymir, not wanting to see any walls or any tanky assassins. And right as we mention it, the Erlang Shen hover. But the Sobek on the other side might actually, it's going to hurt him a little bit, I think. Since he has no CC immunity, he's really going to need to, avoid the pluck, the knockups, all that stuff from that Sobek.
They have to take a little smarter engagement, I think, coming into things. But Sobek is one of those like thrive or not kind of gods. I mean, he's known for not dying, right? That's like what he does best. But once you miss that pluck, if you miss that pluck, you're kind of and you don't have your ultimate, you're kind of done, right? That's it. You're no longer useful in a team fight, right? You got a little knock up that might help a little bit of anti heal, but yeah, Sobek a little risky, so Thanatos actually opted for instead of the Erlang Shen. Uh, I like that pick a little bit more because you can be a little bit more choosy with how you get into engagements. Obviously, with the hovering death, you can kind of just float until you get a good opportunity. So that pick might be a little bit better for Emma Stone Fan Club.
And with this super tanky team on the side of esports anti-healers, like Frog had wanted them to pull out something a little more re-engage kind of thing, and that's exactly what they have right here. And the answer back to that is a Thanatos. You poke out those big old tanks, poke them out just enough, and then you just come swooping in with a execute from that Thanatos, and you've removed one off the map, and now you only have to deal with one more, which makes your life a lot easier to getting to that back line and finishing them off. So I think that's a really smart adjustment there by Emma Stone Fan Club when, just simply noticing what esports anti-healers want. And they're going to finish off their draft esports anti-healers with this Camazotz. And what are your thoughts here on this Camazotz? Because we've not seen too terribly much of him recently. He's kind of just existed, if per se, nothing crazy.
Yeah, I think Scary D probably the only big name that I can think of that's been playing that pick recently. I think Camazotz is a great option. He's super safe too. He kind of works a little bit, with the Thanatos. It gives him a little bit of some better options going into team fights as well. But I think that's going to do it for our death segment. We are going to throw it back to the casters. Kaizo and Frog, take it away.
Well, I am still Kaizo, and joined alongside me is still Frog, and this time I didn't even dump my water bottle into my lap, so we're already
That's impressive.
off to. I know, it is probably one of my crowning achievements in this Albion Giants League, and we are already underway in this one, Emma Stone Fan Club versus Anti-Healers. Game number 2, if you watched game number 1, you saw Emma Stone fans really turn on the heat and put it to the anti-healers. And now a couple of changes in the draft. We went from late game Kali to early game Thanatos. How do you think that we're doing here?
I think that he's probably going to just make the same early game plays he did last time. We didn't see him hesitate at all on the Kali last game, despite playing the known for late game pick, and Thanatos known for his early game, and auto speed, I would say, known for his early game after that game. So I fully expect him to continue to make those same aggressive plays, continue to make himself a nuisance on the map. But I really want to talk about the anti-healers comp just in general, because I think that they have dove really hard back into what they failed at last game. They chose the Gilgamesh and they chose the Zhang Kui as their jungle solo combination, two gods that like to go into the backline, like to try and be on the carries. They chose both of them last game, and they weren't able to have success with that style of play at all. Vibe never able to get into the backline, consistently fighting with his carries, and Zhang Kui seemed timid to get back there alone. But this game, they've not only gone into it again, but they've doubled down. They've gone harder. Vibe on this Camazotz now, whose only job is to get into the backline. There's not even an argument to be made for any CC that he has, because he doesn't have any to help out his carries or peel for his carries. He has to go into the backline, and he has the survivability to do it. And then we have the 12th man on this Cthulhu, who is, once again, pretty much only known for getting into that backline as to Cthulhu. And not to mention, we've added a third man to this in the Morrigan that can transform into either one of them. And Vibe trying to get involved early on Rundas, trying to shut him down because of the great game he had last time. And just, that's exactly the start I wanted to see. I want to see this solo jungle getting involved and getting involved early, because they were shut down almost entirely last game.
Yeah, so they do manage to get something on the right side of the map, a little fighting over here on the left. A good beads out of Jaggy will keep him alive. I do agree with what you're saying, though. It really feels like they went, all right, well, it didn't work last time. Let's try it again and see if we can make it work a second time in a row. And now with Vibe getting this kill for his Cthulhu early on, and now fighting against auto speed in the jungle, this could get pretty sketchy pretty quickly. We've got rotations coming out from Tej on this Morrigan, who does not have an angle onto the Thanatos, so we will see a reset. But back to what I was saying, getting the anti-healers ahead in the solo lane, I think, is going to be a key part of getting them into this game. Like you said, they need to have this dive composition function and feel comfortable getting involved, getting in there, mixing things up. You don't do that if you're from behind as Cthulhu.
Well, I totally agree, but hold that thought. We are doing a fight over here in the dual lane. They can't go to the blue buff, so they decide to go to the purple buff instead. An early rotation from XD on this Morgan Le Fay absolutely deletes Jaggy. Excuse me, not Jaggy, Buttery got off the face of the earth, gets his beads burned as well. So we saw them have some success over in the dual lane last time on the side of anti-healers. They were able to take down Jaggy a couple times, and they found that when they didn't have success over in the solo lane, but now it seems like those roles are swapped. 12th man getting a kill, another one over on the Rundas. That was actually a solo kill, or a 1v2 onto Rundas from the 12th man, but he does end up getting traded, still a level ahead over there on that Cthulhu. Great start for him.
Yeah, 2-1 is a good place to be, and I really just feel like Rundas he just picks whatever he wants to in this set, and nobody really questions it. Like, I don't think that I could even convince my solo laner to pick Jormungandr and then Cabrakan if I wanted it. Meanwhile, Rundas is like, yeah, I mean, I haven't played it in a while, I think it looks good here, let's just try it. And the Cabrakan not looking quite so hot as the Jormungandr did in game number 1, and to the tune of an even gold state here. I was going to pause, but XD drops a whole bunch of garbage at his feet and is perfectly fine. And that's really what Morgan Le Fay does best, is just throws all of her abilities at her feet and then walks away.
Yeah, that definitely is something that she's known for, but I do want to talk about these builds. We haven't gotten a chance to quite yet, but both solo laners starting out pretty typically. It seems that Cthulhu actually forced to go into this magical defense first. I don't know if you guys caught it last game. He went into physical defense first because he was not afraid of the Shang-Kui on the other side, or excuse me, Rundas went into physical defense first. So we'll see if he does that again, or if he's more scared of this Cthulhu. But it's really this Mannequin Scepter on this Morgan that I want to touch on a little bit. We've been seeing this more and more, and it really goes to show that Hidden Blade is what they're looking for. Then now, Mannequin's by no means a bad item on Morgan. Her third auto proc, getting that explosion, it's going to take on all of the minions that it hits, so it definitely is a good item, gives her a little bit more pressure, period, you know, by itself. But once it gets upgraded to that Mannequin's Hidden Blade, 20% of an enemy god's health taken as physical damage when you get that first hit out of combat. And what's Morgan known for? Morgan's known for getting that first hit out of combat, right? She goes invisible, she finds herself into the backline. I mean, if you get that Mannequin's Hidden Blade online, we're into the late game, Morgan gets into the backline, hits a stun combo, and then transforms into the Cthulhu, it's already a huge advantage for that team.
Thanatos looking for something here, but everybody seems very well aware that that ultimate was consumed, so Autospeed will retreat into the jungle. And I have to tip my hat to your analysis, Frog, because I couldn't have said it better myself. As much as I do like the Mannequin's Hidden Blade upgraded, it probably is the most entertaining starter that you can go on Morgan as well, who has no issues clearing to begin with, but can just clear even harder. And now is looking for a little bit of action over here in the left lane, gets some poke off onto Jaggy and gets ramped into Root is the name of that CC by land on this RDO as we begin to fight around these purple and red buff respawns. Anti-healers are here, but not in force. So Land thinks about stepping up and trying to make something happen. A good cripple will get the pluck out of Belted Sniper, but it is just too many red jerseys for a hard commit quite yet. Teach goes over to this red buff, might need to transform here and does so. Goes into the Camazotz, almost gets bursted before she can get out, and will exit stage right. XD chases down with that Morgan Le Fay ult, not going to do it, turns around, hits two with it, one gets banished by that Through the Realms ultimate, and now red jerseys start to look backward. Vibe, one singular HP will be cleaned up by Land as Emma Stone Fan Club surges forward, looking for more action onto Buttery God on this Heimdall, gets a stun out, but that Bifrost will keep him safe for the time being, and now it's just going to be Belted Sniper trying to escape all by himself, gets under the tower. A whole lot of mess for not a whole lot of kills, Frog.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy with anti-healers for trying to be aggressive, trying to make those plays and plan out those engagements prior to, as opposed to just reacting. It really felt like they were reacting last game almost entirely, at least for the first several buff spawns in this game. It does at least feel like they want to try and get something going. They didn't have success on the last purple invade, so this time they send 4 people over there to try to have that success, but it's still not going their way, and I think it's because of how much that fight was split up from the side of anti-healers. It looked like they wanted to initially go for the purple, and then the dual lane stayed on that purple buff, but the mid-jungle combo went over towards that red buff instead, and it was a 2v4 very briefly in favor of Emma Stone fans, but it was a 1v2 here in the jungle. Vibe being taken out on his own side. That's the second or third time he's been caught out in that area of the jungle in this set. Just not a huge fan of those XP camps, while his enemy is a huge fan of being over there for those XP camps, and he's been punished for it several times.
Yeah, and just now that Camazot's ultimate comes back up, give it like 10-15 seconds, he might have lived there, but no safety to be found for him. And I want to look back at these builds, and Jaggy on this ROM doesn't go for this full power, full penetration build, but we do have an interesting one brewing as Auto Speed says, I will have all of the hammers, please, and begins to build them in order.
Pretty disappointed that this Rama isn't going full ability based. I really think that character thrives with that kind of build.
Oh yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we do see the interesting build on auto speed this time instead of Jaggy, and he's going. I was already a little bit questioning at that Boomba's hammer, right? The Boomba's hammer or the Boomba's dagger initially. It did get upgraded. That buff did come through. It's got that 20% CDR now instead of that 10%. So it's definitely not going to be as limited a jungle upgrade once he gets to that point in the game, but it does give him a slower start period, right? It's not as great base stats as either Mannequin or Eye of the Jungle. So, you know, Thanatos does have that early game prowess, but it seems like he's slowing it down a little bit almost purposely with that Boomba's dagger instead of trying to go for it. But hold that thought. Thanatos in the air looking for Buttery God on this time, but he actually misses it, and Buttery God responds incredibly well, looking for a combo on the landing under the tower here. We're gonna hits the knockup, but unfortunately takes him out of tower. Maybe he could have got that kill if he comboed that a little bit more perfectly, but either way, good response from Buttery God.
I wonder if Auto Speed thought that he had that one all on his own, or if he just didn't tell the rest of his team that he was going in. Meanwhile, Land takes down Buttery God on the dive, and if you're not going to get it done yourself, buddy, then the support will come in and clean up your mess for you, I suppose. But that entire time, quick note, they did Pyromancer on the other side of the map. The entire time Thanatos is in the air, it just felt like Land and Jaggy were content to do the Draugr instead of going to help him. So a little bit surprised by the disconnect there, and now we're sitting at about a 500 gold lead for Emma Stone fans, maybe less than that. Even though it's 5-2, this is getting pretty even pretty quickly. 12th man trying to get out in that Descent into Madness ultimate. Knock up onto Auto Speed, blinking from Rundas under the tower, and Auto Speed will finish that up, so doesn't get the left lane kill, but makes his way to the right lane and grabs one over there instead.
Really interesting. Feels like 12th man did not need to die there at all. He used his third ability in Cthulhu Ult under tower, which took away a portion of his health, and if he had not cut his own health, I think he may have survived, but it is worth the sack. No! He dies to the gold. They do pick it up, but they lose 2 members for it across the map. Cthulhu dies first. Vibe dies to the Gold Fury because of poor leashing on the side of anti-healers, and they might actually lose Belted Sniper for this as well, being taken down low. Thanatos in the air, but they're not going to need him, and he's not going to be in range. A 3-for-0 trade, a 3-for-Gold Fury trade, excuse me, as the gold lead has now really not changed at all. I mean, it's essentially a wash, but it didn't need to be a wash. That could have been so much more clean from the anti-healers.
And that's really, you hate to point fingers, but if you're Vibe, you're pointing at your entire team on that one. There's no reason that both of your full health damage dealers should be outside of the Gold Fury pit when you're trying to tank it at one singular HP. Meanwhile, Buttery God trying to defend 1 HP on his tower. Teleport will get him out of the way. A one-shot. There's 2-3 on the mark for Jaggy. Only needs the last one, though, so Buttery God will fall in the 1v2 under his tower. Vibe, just step out, homie. Like, you don't have to die for that one.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate Gold Fury pull for the side of anti-healers, but it shows they're fighting better into this comp already. They're off to a good start. They have more of a gold lead, or more of a gold deficit than they did at the last game at this point, or less of a gold deficit, excuse me. They're in a better spot, but it's not going to be the greatest spot if they can't continue to push these leads like they've been doing. I really like the mindset, and I've said this multiple times. They've tried to go for the purple. They've had limited success there, but I like the mindset at least, and Vibe's still over here again. The fact that they're even looking for it shows they're in the right place mentally, and they go for the Gold Fury, the classic, oh, dude, my soul laner just got ganked, get the Gold Fury. That's classic. That's Smite 101, and they do execute it, and they do get the Gold Fury. But if it's going to be consistently that messy, it's not even worth going for the Gold Fury. I'd rather have you take a 5v5 fight if you have a better shot at winning the fight, because you don't need the objective if you're going to lose 3 members for it every time. So I really need them to pick up a cleaner fight the next time they go out of their way to do that.
And I don't think that they should be looking for any fights anytime soon. Camazotz, like you said earlier, he has no CC in his kit. He has to rely purely on damage. And he is 3 levels behind this Thanatos, who has a Bulwark of Hope now, which, granted, this item recently buffed to make it a little bit of a better feel, but on Thanatos' 3rd item in the jungle,
this Bulwark of Hope gets buffed. Oh, hold that thought, actually. A fight's starting out. Here's the red buff. They try to invade it, and T just forced into the Cthulhu ultimate, taken down early. Rundas rotating over. Cthulhu's down to be found in the 2nd ultimate. This one's his own this time, and auto speed falling to low health, but not as low as Belted Sniper. He's already fallen, and Vibe needs to use this last Camazotz ultimate to escape, but he doesn't, and he gets taken out for it. 12th man falling at the end of his ultimate as well, and it looks like a full-on deicide with the finish of Buttery God. Their land picking up the final kill. They're going to get a tier 1 tower and the speed buff for their efforts as well. Just a misguided fight out of anti-healers. They tried to defend their red buff. They didn't really know if they wanted to full-on defend it, and so it ended up with members being separated. The Cthulhu ults go off at different times, and they're not able to be used together. Jaggy is able to just take so much advantage. He's free casting on both those Cthulhus at all times, and the jungler's never able to get into his backline. It was a jungler v jungler fight in most of that team fight, but they are up soon enough to potentially contest this Fire Giant. This is still a risk for Emma Stone fans.
Yeah, here I am like an idiot analyzing these builds right before we get a deicide fight into a Fire Giant. Kabrakan on zoning duty, Rundas looking for someone. Autospeed ends up finding Tej on the front half of this engagement. No ult available for the Morrigan, but buying some decent time for the members of Emma Stone Fan Club to get very low here. Now all of anti-healers have showed up, and all of Emma Stone is low. XD gets 1 onto Belted Sniper. Meanwhile, in the backline, it looks like XD will finish off Tej, who is locked into those trembles. Jaggy goes up, hits 1, only the 1 needed on the mark for Buttery God's kill. 12th man chased out by all of Emma Stone Fan Club. That's going to be a fear. He descends into madness, but he may be descending into the grave here. Chased under the tier 2. XD turns around and says, "Get off of me, Camazotz," and puts Vibe in the ground. There's a second clean 5-for-0 deicide for the Emma Stone Fan Club, who are looking immortal at this point.
Look, it seems clean for Emma Stone Fan Club, and absolutely, you know, they feel good about that. They feel good about getting 5-for-0, but it's not even on their own merits for me. It's literally on anti-healers' mistakes. Once again, they are alive soon enough to try and take them off this Fire Giant. As I say that, we see the 2nd member of the game to die to an NPC, and I was worried we were going to see auto speed there, but he does break the streak, thank God. So 2 members to die to NPCs this game. Let's see if we can break an early Season 6 AGL record, or at least set that record with this game. But as I was saying, it just seems so messy, these fights coming out from anti-healers. They're not all on the same page. You saw Morrigan on that Thanatos early on towards the top right of the mid camps, excuse me, and she got some damage on a Thanatos and then left out to dry. No ultimate for her. no support to back her up. She was in that position completely alone. 12th man on the Cthulhu wasn't able to join his teammates while they died until the very end of the fight, at which he was full HP, not able to take part of that essentially at all. And now Vibe, similar to how he did in that team fight, not with his teammates, not able to help out at all. And you mentioned this level deficit. It's just gotten worse. He's now 5 levels down. That matches with his 5 deaths on the board. Just doing, a lot of consistency here. I can at least appreciate that, but it's maybe in the wrong direction. I'd rather you be 5 levels ahead and 5-0, so maybe you didn't get the memo on that.
Yeah, probably just some miscommunication, and it should go mentioned that Emma Stone Fan Club has died as many times in this set to NPCs as they have in this game to the anti-healers of the esports variety. Autospeed on the Thanatos is surrounded by all of the anti-healers who just don't want to defend the tower because Vibe is already 1 HP. Autospeed gets sent into Niflheim, Thanatos in the air, but that's TJ waiting for this Thanatos to land. There's an execute off, and that will be the first pick of this fight. Rom goes into the air. Long range shots on this one as Land takes down Tej. It's a little bit of last hit action from the support. XD will fell Belted Sniper, so they do collapse on Autospeed. They do get 1 more kill than the NPCs, but it's only on this support weird hybrid tanky Thanatos jungle. So does it really give you as much value as you're looking for?
Look, Thanatos is the support at this point, okay? And you know who's the jungler? You know who's the jungler? Land. Land is 5-0 and 10. He is absolutely fragging right now. 1 more kill than his jungler, no deaths, and his jungler has 1 death. I mean, that's completely inexcusable as a jungler to have 1 death at this point in the game. The support has none. So, we'll give all the credit to Land here. Absolutely fragging. Good switch on the left side from our production there. Thank you for correcting that mistake. But we do see some success in that fight, and they're just continuing to use this lead and pushing it as they should. Anti-healers have had absolutely no chance at defending these tier 2 towers, and this is exactly what we saw from Emma Stone fans last game. That first Fire Giant they get, they don't overpush. They don't put themselves in any sort of rough position. They don't even they don't put themselves at risk ever. They're doing this calculatedly and exacting how they want to take these towers off the map. They're not pushing the Phoenixes. They're not ready for that. It's only 19 minutes. They do have a great lead, but they have much more of an XP lead than they do the gold lead at the moment. They still want to get those items online, and it's certainly the Phoenixes don't need to build items. They're going to be just as tanky at 19 minutes in the game as they are in every other game. So no matter how ahead you are in XP, it's still going to take a minute to kill those Phoenixes, and so they do the smart play. They get the tier 2 towers. They increase that gold lead now up to 10,000 gold, but it's still a rough spot for anti-healers. As Buttery God now in an even rougher spot. Great beads from him, though, is going to get him out, and he does take down the tier 1 tower with him, but now it might be Jaggy chased in the jungle as well. They keep putting themselves in rough spots here. He's not even running. He's not even full staying. He has to jump away there, but he might still be taken out if Autospeed continues to chase this. Not committing to that, but he's still 5 levels down and struggling to farm in his own jungle.
Yeah, and you'd almost think that with all of these objectives that the Emma Stone fans are doing, that would give Vibe the chance to catch up, because it's been 5 minutes for about 5 minutes, right? And you really need to start getting some of these levels online, but no such luck for him, as I just can't take my eyes off of this RDO jungle build. I don't know why we bothered to swap them back, because she just built a Spear of Desolation and is already climbing the damage charts almost as much as this Thanatos, who apparently is auto-attack boxing a Cthulhu for some reason. This is exactly what they want to start these fights off, just baiting out this Thanatos who goes up into the air and now will retreat back. But 12th man blinks in with this Cthulhu, trying to get something happening proactively here. There's a rotation from TJ on his own Thanatos, lands on 1, but won't have the damage because it's a support Thanatos build. And now he is chased out, surrounded by 3 shots from a distance, will finish him off. But Autospeed gets the kill credit for this one. Land on this jungle RDO, chasing everyone all the way out into the Phoenix. Meanwhile, Vibe, we didn't even see what killed him, but he's just off screen and already dead, as is Belted Sniper, as Emma Stone Fan Club just waterfall their way up the right side of the map.
They do not need Fire Giant to push Phoenixes if anti-healers are going to give them 2 picks and a TKO before the fact, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to push for this end, but they certainly want to try for it. 5 members at mixed health bars. 2 of the members are pretty low, but they want to get in on this. Runda's taking out Buttergod. He got deleted. Vibe gets deleted as well. 12th man doesn't even get to get the Descent into Madness off. He doesn't have it up. Can't defend the Titan at this point in the game, and they're looking to try and get these last couple of kills. Runda's plucked back into the fountain to try and get taken out, and Chaos Titan will grab almost as many kills as the entirety of anti-healers, 60 or 33% of their entire kill total. But I mean, 22-minute end, not even getting Fire Giant at that point in the game to end. They ended with Fire Giant up. Just absolute dominance in that second game from the side of Emma Stone Fan Club. It just seemed to me that anti-healers, they kept picking the same style of comp and they were never able to execute with it.
Yeah, Emma Stone Fan Club looking elite in this one, and with that third death from XD001 on that Titan, that is the same number of kills for NPCs in this set as the entirety of the esports anti-healers got in this second game. And it's rough stuff if you're esports anti-healers, but sometimes you just have to go back to the locker room, say they played better, they came to win, and we didn't. And I think that's pretty much what we're looking at here.
Yeah, before we throw it back, I do want to make absolutely sure we get it on record. The record for Season 6 has already been set. 3 NPC kills in one game. So that's a hard record to break. So any teams out there, remainder of Season 6, you got a couple weeks. You got a while now. That's the record we're looking to break. Okay, that's near the top of the list. But I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that it was just clinical, especially in Game 2 from the side of Emma Stone fans. They looked really good in Game 2. They had a really solid Game 1 clinical play, even when they were so far ahead, taking advantage of the mistakes of anti-healers and just able to capitalize on those mistakes so well with the strengths of their composition. I'm looking forward to see them perform in the rest of the season.
Yeah, and a Mercenaries team, make sure that you are watching this set because this looks like it might be the team to beat on this Emma Stone roster. But I have been Kaizo, and I have been joined alongside me throughout all of these NPC kills by the lovely and amphibious Frog. That is going to do it for us on the cast. We'll throw it back to the desk to break that one down for you.
Thank you, Kaizo and the NPC Frog, for breaking down those games and showing us those games. They're absolutely excellent cast by them. But, I mean, again, it just felt like they just... esports anti-healers just could not get going.
Yeah, I think the gas pedal, the fan club, they put a brick on it, let that thing drive as far as it could possibly go. And they just had all the advantage in the world. They got it up to a good start. They followed through, and they sacrificed themselves to a few objectives, and that probably appeased the gods or whatever. And so they come out with a win in this one. And it's just they seem very, very comfortable fighting as a team, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing because their ability to communicate, their ability to play the map of Smite in Season 8 is just masterful. And that's probably why they're in Masters now that I think about that. Even if, you have a Thanatos building, 3 hammers?
Yeah,
I guess you don't need damage if you could just execute.
Exactly. I said it in the chat and you reiterated it because that's exactly what everyone needs to hear. Why do damage when execute do damage? Think about it that way.
Why do damage when execute work?
They have plenty of damage across the board there. But again, excellent game there by Emma Stone Fan Club, and plenty of room for improvement for esports anti-healers. But again, signs of life. There are chances, and it is only the first week, so who knows what happens at the last of them. The last couple of weeks here. But that has been all for us today. I've been Dr. Thanatos, joined by Mr. Dinosaur here on the desk, and of course, our lovely production expert, Narwallaby, also known as the troll, switching the RDO as the jungler. But tomorrow, exact same time, 7 p.m. EST, we're going to have a Spartans division matchup for you all to watch. So make sure you come back for that one. But thank you for watching.